Preston Kelly Show. This is episode 5. I appreciate you coming back to the show. If you are new, consider subscribing. This is a show where we cover everything football and all other things sports, and I would appreciate it a lot. I put a lot of time into this show, and I would appreciate if you stuck around for future episodes. If you're somebody who has seen the show before, welcome back. In today's episode, we're going to be doing a rundown of a bunch of different things. We're going to not necessarily talk about this past week in football. I mean, we will, but we're going to take time to just kind of go back and look at everything that has kind of happened in football so far. And what I mean by that is that we're going to be doing another rankings, our full 32 to 1. We did it in the very first episode before the season started, and now we're going to do it for the first 3 weeks. And, I was thinking when I was going to want to redo the rankings, and I was thinking that maybe that this would be a good time now that we've had a few weeks to see what these teams are like, to see what they're capable of, to now be able to just give another full rankings. And this is something that we will do over time every few weeks, I think, is what the plan can kind of be for a full rankings. But other than that, then we're going to jump to, if you've been following me on social media, which, by the way, if you're not, what are you doing? Go follow the social pages, the Instagram and TikTok. We've got some hot takes. I pulled a couple that I pulled. And if this is something that I would love to do more often with people who follow me and stuff. So if you haven't already, please go follow the social media pages, so that way maybe you can be featured in a future hot takes segment on the podcast. But I pulled a couple, and we're going to talk about those, what people sent in as their hot takes for right now in the NFL season. And then we're going to dive into this upcoming NFL week's primetime games. And if we have a little extra time, we're going to talk some MLB playoffs. It'll be the first time that we talk playoffs on this particular channel. But we're going to dive in 32 to 1. A lot has changed. And I'm going to go ahead and apologize in advance if my voice sounds a little bit scratchy. Been a little bit under the weather. Been dealing with some sinuses. It's gotten a lot better. I'm feeling good, feeling energized. So that's good. I'm glad I'm able to still record this podcast. But I'm going to do my best. But a lot has changed when I was really taking the time to write down my rankings for this episode. And, it shocked me. Some of these teams that are on this list, and particularly one team. We're not going to waste any time. We're going to jump straight into this. The 32 team, it stayed the same since the beginning of the season. The New Orleans Saints have at number 32. It's not looking great for them. They just took a brutal loss to the Seahawks this past week. They haven't won a game up to this point. They're 0-3. I think this was a team that we all kind of knew was going to be at the bottom of the barrel this season. It's not that they haven't looked horrible. This past week was their worst week by far, and that's why they are still at 32. But the first 2 weeks, I mean, they were playing Arizona and San Francisco, and they gave both of those teams fights. I will say, but this past week it's kind of like they just fell apart, and Seattle just absolutely obliterated them. So they've been starting Spencer Rattler for the most part up to this point in the season. I think there is going to be, discussions here before long, whether or not it's going to be time to give the ball to Tyler Show and see what he can do. You drafted him in the second round, so you might as well use him. Drafting him where you did shows that you had some sort of, high hopes and big beliefs in this guy. So when will he ultimately take over for this team and showcase what talent that he has for this team? But right now, Saints not in a good spot. We're already looking forward to maybe getting the first pick next season and using that maybe for a quarterback. Who knows? We'll see. Number 31, the Miami Dolphins. So if you remember the very first episode, I said that this team was going to fall apart. And I did not think that it was going to be this early. I've said that multiple times. And I will say they played the Bills last week on Thursday Night Football. Um, and they gave the Bills somewhat of a fight. They kept it a close game, so I'll give them that. But for the most part, up to this season, they have not looked good at all. They got absolutely mollywop. It's week one. They got beaten by the Patriots in week two, and now taking a loss to Buffalo here this past week three. So 0-3. There's definitely a lot of value that they could use to trade at the deadline because they're obviously not looking forward to making any sort of a playoff run. I think Mike McDaniel will probably be fired at some point, especially if this keeps up. But yeah, it's not looking good for the Dolphins, and I have them at. I want to mention, I'll bring this up during actually, I'm going to save it, my thought that I have for when we do hot takes, because I'll throw in a hot take that I have for the Dolphins, talking about trading wise, somebody that they can trade. But number 30, this is where I have the Tennessee Titans. I think there have been some positives to see for the Titans up to this point. They did not look good against the Colts this weekend at all. They gave the Broncos a really big fight in week one, and then they just got whooped by the Rams in week two. Cam Ward, I just think that, he still needs a lot of time to develop, and obviously he's just not he's not on the best team right now, as in weapons around him. You need to get Calvin Ridley the football more. Let's feed the ball to Tony Pollard some more. There are some key names on this list. Tyler Lockett, those kind of just forgotten. My son, he's on the Titans, so maybe utilize him a little bit too. So they have some weapons on that offense that they can use, but this is just not a good team. This is a team that's a rebuilding team, and we need to play for the future here. But as of right now, they are the number 30 team. The number 29 team I have is the New York Giants. Oh man, talk about a roller coaster of a season for the Giants so far, as in they haven't won a game, they're 0-3. But week one, whooped by the Commanders. Week two, that incredible game against the Cowboys. And now all of a sudden, week three, they did not look good at all against the Chiefs. I think a lot of that we can look at towards Russell Wilson. He had the great week two. He threw for over 400 yards passing, but weeks one and week three just have not looked good for him. And now all of a sudden, as of yesterday, we will go ahead and talk about this while we're on the Giants. Jackson Dart, the rookie that they drafted in the first round at Ole Miss, he's going to be the intended starter for the rest of the season. So we're going to see what that Giants team looks like with Jackson Dart as their quarterback. Cam Skattebo, he looks great. I love what they're doing with Cam Skattebo. We need to feed him the ball much more. He had a great night on Sunday Night Football against the Chiefs, but he was the only one looking good on that offense for the most part. Need to get Malik Neighbors the football more. We saw what happens whenever we do that. Week two was a big part of Russell Wilson's big game, and the Giants' big game against the Cowboys. Week three, he just disappeared. It's like he was just non-existent. I don't know if I think he maybe had two catches. Got to get Neighbors the football more. But until then, Giants are at 29. The 28 team I have is the New York Jets. This team confuses me. They gave the Buccaneers a big battle, including that block punt that was returned for the touchdown. I think this team, I think it's trending in the right direction. I think you've got a good coach in Aaron Glenn. I think that you have a lot of young, talented players on that roster. Justin Fields needs to stay healthy. When he was healthy week one, he had a great week one against the Steelers. If he can, play like the way he did during that game, I think that this team has a very good chance at playing some really, really good ball games and some tight ball games. But we aren't there. We aren't there yet at all. 0-3. I think this team's just missing a little bit more talent before they can, even come close to competing, what seems like Buffalo and even New England, who seems to be trending in the right direction. No, if Aaron Glenn is the guy, I do think that team's going to be disciplined. They're already disciplined. We just need to get some more talent in there. Mostly that defense, I think, needs to bolster up some more. But this is a team I like. I somewhat like where the future's going, but we just, need to get some more talent in there. So they're at 28 for right now. Number 27, this is where I have the Patriots. They're 1-2, got their win against Miami in week 2. Fell to Pittsburgh this past week in what was a very winnable game for them. Kind of the same thing with the Jets, but I 100% like the future for this team. I think we need to get some more weapons on offense, particularly some another weapon for Drake May, somebody else he can throw the football to. I like where they're at defensive wise. I think that that's a very good defensive team as long as Christian Gonzalez stays healthy. He is an absolute unit at the QB spot. You've got a great head coach in Mike Vrabel. I really love where this team's heading, and I don't think it'll be this season from what we've seen production-wise from this team, but, I definitely do like future for this team uh, going forward. 26, this is where I put the Las Vegas Raiders. Got whooped by Washington this past weekend. I think that this team has a lot of rentals there, particularly speaking in the head coach spot and in the quarterback spot. Geno Smith, he's getting older, and he's got probably just a couple years left. And, I think that this potentially could be his last year as a starting quarterback in the NFL. I think that this is a team that's going to be looking for a quarterback, a franchise quarterback, either in the draft or somewhat in the offseason next year. You've got Genty, who we've seen some bright spots, but we haven't seen nothing really great from him. Jacoby Myers is a great underrated wide receiver as long as he's healthy and keep him happy with extension wise. But right now, you have him. Trey Tucker had a great game against Washington. He seems to be, if we can get him the football a little bit more, that team's, it has some pieces on offense. Brock Bowers, one of the, if not the best tight ends already in the NFL. We need to build the offense around him and Genty. If Genty is worth all the hype, go get you a franchise quarterback next year in the offseason or in the draft, and I will like where the future's heading for this team. Number 25, this is where I put the Cleveland Browns. They beat the Packers in a low-scoring affair, 13-10, last second field goal win for them this past weekend. And they have one of the best defenses in the NFL, always have, it seems like, for the last few seasons. We need to figure out the quarterback and the rest of the offense. That's what we need to build around if this team wants to be successful. Joe Flacco, obviously not the future for this team. I think we need to make a decision on Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders. I could see both of them playing. I think Joe Flacco is just a good starting point once we get to probably about week 8 when they start trading some assets away or just completely out of the running period. That's where we're probably going to see these guys almost kind of like preseason for them, but except it's in the regular season. I think we're going to see a good mixture of both from them. So that way they can really decide, who they believe is going to be the franchise quarterback for this team and then trade away the other guy for probably a good bit of value. Both of those guys really probably carry some value to them. Even Shedeur, who's taken all the way in round 5. My gut tells me ultimately it will be Shedeur. So if that is the case, we need to look in the offseason next year to build around him. Or if it's Dylan Gabriel, let's build around Dylan Gabriel, get him some studs in there on offense, and I like where this team's headed. But 24, we got Atlanta Falcons. Man, this team frustrates me. They had a great win against Minnesota week 2. We obviously know Baker came back and beat them. This week against Carolina, they put up an absolute dud. 30-0. The Panthers beat them. And Michael Penix did not look good. We need to give Bijan the ball more. That's crazy to say, but we need to feed him more. It seems like they're trying to kind of do similar to what maybe Detroit's doing with Jameer and David Montgomery with Tyler Algier. And that's not to say Tyler Algier is a good quarterback, but you got Bijan Robinson, who I believe is probably the best running back in the NFL, Saquon Barkley. We need to really get the football to Bijan more, really utilize him more on the offensive point. Drake London's also a great wide receiver. We just really need to get rolling on offense. And as crazy as that sounds, they weren't able to put up a lot of touchdowns against Minnesota in week 2. We weren't able to put up a lot of points in week 1. And then we don't put up a single point in week 3. We got to get the offense rolling, and I think, also needs a lot of help too. This Atlanta team, it had a lot of potential. I was really sitting here after that week 2 Sunday Night Football win saying, okay, well, maybe they can compete, especially if they were able to go blow for blow with Tampa. Maybe they are able to compete for the South title, but now I'm looking at them, I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know, Jim. So that's there's just a lot of guys I think too that just need to be developed more. Michael Penix is now getting his first season as the official starter, and I think he's got a lot of potential in him, and obviously I think he's the future for that team, and that would be just fine. But we got to look better than we. But speaking of Carolina, I have them at 23. First 2 weeks did not look great for the Panthers, and then all of a sudden, week 3 they wake up a little bit and hey, put up a 30 piece on Atlanta and keep them to a shutout. Bryce Young looked a whole lot better. I think that was a big, kind of talking point for Carolina going into this week. It's like, okay, we're sitting here a couple years now into the Bryce Young era, and you already got benched last year. You're not looking great here again this year. Are we going to do something? You got some weapons around you, and sure enough, they look great yesterday. Let's get the ball to Schubert more. Let's get the ball to Sarota more. And I've been saying I love this offense if it produces up to standards. And we saw what it was able to do against Atlanta whenever this team's in full motion, full they're playing to the best of their capabilities. They're playing, how, as good as everybody is truly. If that's the way that they're going to play for the rest of the season, maybe they're able to give Tampa Bay a fight. That's the great thing about being this early on into the season. There's still a lot of football left. So, maybe they're able to pull something together and make somewhat of a run, but we'll see. Number 22, this is where I have the Texans. 0-3, just not a great start. And I think a lot of that's got to say the offense. It just, isn't playing up to what it should be. Obviously Joe Mixon has been out for the first little bit. When he gets back from injury, what will he look like? Nico Collins had his first, legitimate breakout week this past week. We got to get the ball to him more. CJ Stroud just hasn't looked like the rookie CJ Stroud that we saw when obviously his rookie season his rookie season. You got to get CJ Stroud back to that, quarterback he was back in his rookie season, and this Houston team will be pretty good. But for now, it's not looking great. The defense got to play better. And that's not to say that it's looked bad. It's played, pretty decent for the most part. It's got some great pieces: Will Anderson, Daniil Hunter, Derek Stingley. But scratch that. Honestly, it's played, pretty good. It's kept the teams in ball games, but the offense just isn't having consistent drives, and we've just got to be better in that aspect. 21 Dallas Cowboys. I could go on a full rant about them. If you didn't see, this past weekend got absolutely blown out by Chicago, and they had the solid week 1. Week 2 got the W against the Giants in that shootout. The offense has played pretty good up to this point. Until this week, we weren't able to do it at all. But that defense I've been preaching since before the season even started, since Micah got traded. This is not a good defense. You trade away the best defensive player in the NFL, and all of a sudden, look what you do. Caleb Williams is looking like an MVP quarterback against you. And that's nothing against Caleb Williams, but he's looked absolutely horrendous the past 2 weeks. And now all of a sudden, it looks like, oh, this team's all of a sudden good now. The Bears, are we going to the Super Bowl? What's going on here? No, it's just because that Dallas defense is so horrible. And now you're welcoming in a Green Bay team that Micah's on. Week 4, Sunday Night Football, they're about to get blown out by the Packers. I'm calling it here right now. Either that, or they just need to pull something together and at least make a fight against Green Bay, because it's just not looking good for Dallas. Number 20, this is where I had the Bears. One good week, under your belt. Maybe this is some good momentum for you. A great win against Dallas. The first 2 weeks have not been great, so up to this point at all. And now we're coming to week 4 with a great win under our belts this past week. Let's keep riding that high and keep using that momentum that we just got to use it for the rest of the season. Let's just run that same offense. Let's keep Caleb hot, and I like where this team's going on for the rest of the season. Number 19, this is where I had the Jacksonville Jaguars. Got a win against Houston this past week. They've put up some good fights. I just think that the offense needs to be better in the passing game standpoint. Travis Etienne's played great, but in the passing standpoint, Brian Thomas and Trevor Lawrence have not had that connection like they did last year. Travis Hunter has not really made an impact at all on the offensive side standpoint. Now he's starting to take more defensive reps than he is offense. What is the identity of this team up to this point? We need to get the passing game better, for them to actually compete. Because now, you look at Houston, 0-3, they've got a shot in this division. They can make a legitimate run. If the passing game gets better, I like this team's chances to making a run towards the playoffs down the line. Defense have played good up to this point. Aside from, I think, week 2 obviously could have been better at holding Cincinnati, especially with Joe Burrow going down. But, you can't complain. You're 2-1, a game back from the division lead. But number 18, this is where I have the Cincinnati Bengals. They looked absolutely horrendous during week 3, taking that, I believe it was 48-10 loss to Minnesota in Minnesota. Showing how much Joe Burrow meant for the team with him going down. And I think we got to make a decision on the quarterback situation. This is a team that can compete. I mean, they're 2-1. They just took their first loss to Minnesota. If we go out and trade for, let's say, Jameis Winston, or if they're willing to say, all right, we'll eat some of this contract of Kirk Cousins for a season and let him be our starting quarterback, I think that'll work out for him. But Drake Browning has not looked great. And against as far into the season with Joe Burrow going down, and maybe that you take one more week to really look at your team with Jake Browning as quarterback and say, all right, are we capable of making a legitimate run here? With the division being the way that it is and vulnerable it is right now, So that's why I think they just ultimately have to make a decision there. I think if they can get a quarterback who's can legitimately take over a team and be a good starter for them, then okay, I think we'll be okay in that aspect. But for right now, a horrible loss against Minnesota. I just don't think it's going to get any better if you keep Browning in at quarterback. Number 17, this is where I have the Arizona Cardinals. I haven't particularly liked what I've seen from them. They've just haven't had great wins. They've had 2 wins, but haven't been great wins. Barely beaten New Orleans in week 1, taking the loss to San Francisco here in week 3. I'm trying to remember. Beating Carolina barely in week 2. Let them come back on you. That this team has some positives, but it's also had a whole lot of negatives. In fact, this past week they just lost James Conner to a season-ending injury, and that was a big part of your offense. People seriously, I don't think, understand how much James Conner meant to that team and how really good of a player he was, especially when they get down to the red zone, because he just is a absolute bruiser. He's a bulldog, man, and he a really good veteran for that offense now. And now you're handing the running game off to Trey Benson, who I think is going to play really, really good. But we need to establish the passing game a lot more. Marvin Harrison, we got to catch footballs, man. We can't be dropping wide open passes and stuff like that. Let's get the football to Trey McBride. Let's feed him. If we can get Marvin Harrison going, I really like Michael Wilson. I think the offense has a really good chance of being solid. The defense has played, subpar up to this point. But we need to get the offense going a little bit. And, hey, this is a winnable division. This is a division that we can, take advantage of, as it's vulnerable right now. As, San Francisco is really banged up. Seattle, I think, is really good all of a sudden. And, of course, the Rams are the Rams. But you're tied in record-wise with them. If we can lock it in on offense, we'll take advantage of a vulnerable division right now. But number 16, this is where I have the Steelers. They really haven't had a win yet that has impressed me. The Patriots one was a scrappy one. Good for them for sticking around with them. I guess that was an impressive win. Week 1 against the Jets, you really went to a shootout with that team. And then week 2, It's blanking on me. I know they lost that game, whoever they played in week 2. Oh, Seattle. They got, whooped by Seattle in week 2. Um, I've seen a lot of positives. I think we need to feed DK Metcalf the ball more. He's only having a couple receptions a game. If we can feed him the ball more, I like this offense a lot. But just the defense is great. It's one of the best defenses in the NFL, and it's probably the reason why this team's staying afloat right now, just because it has not been great offensively for them. Aside from that, week one, uh, week 1 win against the Jets, where they just had a great game on offense. But that's just what it's looked like for Pittsburgh so far up to this point. But number 15, this is where I have the Broncos. I still think that this is a very good football team, even though they are 1-2. Taking, the 2 losses to Denver and a 3-0 Chargers team. It's a scrappy team. Nick has that look on his face like he's just absolutely not happy with where this team's at right now. I think this team will turn it around, and this is a winnable division all of a sudden. Dive into that a little bit more, but now you look at where these teams are at. The only really real team in that division, it seems like right now, is the Chargers. Took 1 loss to them. We got to turn it around right now. It starts right now. If we can get it going a lot more on offense like it is up to this point. They had a great battle with the Chargers. I really love the way that they played during that game, and I think that's just going to be up from here. So I like the future for the Broncos, but we got to turn around right now. We got to win some football games. Can't just stay subpar and lose these games last second and, stay in the fights. Because they could easily be 0-3 right now. They had that battle with Tennessee, but ultimately did get a scrappy win. But we got to lock it in right now and turn it around right now. But number 14, this is where I have the 49ers. They are 3-0. I was really hesitant of really where to put them, so I just kind of stuck them in the middle because this is a team that is very hurt right now, but they have managed to really fight and get some wins here. Whether they've been ugly or not, hey, they're 3-0. This is a team that's just going to fight in general. Got the scrappy win week 1. Mac Jones has played some really, really good football for them the past 2 weeks, and I think they are very comfortable with going with him until Brock Purdy is healthy. If Christian McCaffrey can stay healthy, he's been playing really, really good. Nick Bosa just tore his ACL, so he's out for the rest of the season. But they do have a lot of depth on that defense, I think. So I think that this team's going to play good football. 3-0, I think it's still too early to tell for the rest of the season what the rest of the season looks like for them. But if they can keep riding this momentum for right now, I like this football team for the rest of the season. Number 13, this is where I have the Kansas City Chiefs. It hasn't looked good. Has not looked good up to this point. Some brutal losses to Philly, the Chargers in the first 2 weeks, and then they scrapped out a victory against the Giants on Sunday Night Football this past week. I like this team's future in the aspect of you're getting some players back who have been, not healthy last few weeks. Xavier Worthy will be back. Rashee Rice will be back in a few games. You got Kelsey, Tyquan Thornton, who's played great. You still got him in there. Hollywood Brown's still there. I just think it takes another weapon. I do think that they will find themselves another weapon. That defense is going to stay playing good. Steve Spagnuolo always has that defense playing really, really good. So I think the Chiefs will be fine. I don't think we're in panic mode for Kansas City right now. But I would definitely like to see them play a little bit better. But I think they will be. Just think that they're also really, really banged up right now. And once they kind of get some guys healthy, they'll make that turnaround that we expect them to. But number 12, this is where I have the Seahawks. I've loved what I've seen from Seattle up to this point. I think that this team should be 3-0. If they played offensively like they did the past 2 weeks, they would be 3-0 right now. They would easily beat that 49ers team week 1. But they are 2-1. I think that they are riding a lot of momentum right now. Sam Darnold has looked pretty good. Had a lot of doubts for him coming into this season. I am on tape for saying I don't think that he's the guy. But hey, if he's proven me wrong, he's proven me wrong to see it. I got JSN on my fantasy team. He's been playing great. So let's keep getting the football to him. Let's keep using Kenneth Walker. Charbonnet, I think, is also awesome, but he's been banged up as of recently. And the defense is going to play good football. I really, really love that Seattle defense up there. So I like the future for the Seattle team. I think that they are really going to give the Rams for a run for their money. Because if it were up to me, I think that it comes down to LA and Seattle for that division. And I do think that they're going to give them a good fight and a good battle. Number 11, this is where I have the Minnesota Vikings. it's been very hard for me to tell this football team, you know, roller coaster games. Um, week 1, uh, got the victory, comeback victory over Chicago on Monday Night Football. Week 2, took that brutal loss to Atlanta, and then week 3, we locked it in and whooped the Bengals. So, uh, JJ McCarthy obviously hurt right now with his ankle, so Wentz is starting. Wentz looked great on Sunday. If he can, I mean, it's very simple. Get the ball to Justin Jefferson. Jordan Addison is back. Hawkinson's been playing better. And you got Adam Thielen. So I like the offense for this team. Obviously, you also too, in running back situation, you got Aaron Jones, who's been hurt, but you got Jordan Mason, who played great for San Francisco last year when CMC was hurt for them. So I really like the offense for this team. The defense is playing amazing. Darn, if you're a fantasy owner and you have Minnesota and you started them, you got 32 free points on defense for them. They are playing absolutely amazing. I love that Vikings defense. I love this Vikings team. If the offense plays up to, what they should do, I think this is a difference when you put in a veteran quarterback like Carson Wentz, who, yeah, historically has played pretty bad, but you put him on a team like that, we see what has happened when they use veteran quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins, Sam Darnold, Carson Wentz, they play good in this offense. I just think that it's going to take time for JJ McCarthy because he has to develop and get to know the NFL more. But you put Carson Wentz in that offense, and all of a sudden, hey, the offense is working wonders all of a sudden. We're getting Justin Jefferson the football. That team also has other weapons that we get the football to. And, they're playing really good. And I think that this team is going to hang around and it's going to have a shot for that division when it's all said and done. If they keep playing the way that if they keep playing like they did this past week for the rest of the season, they're going to be absolutely just fine. Top 10. Number 10, man, jumping up 20 spots, I believe it was. Good for them. The Indianapolis Colts. Let's take a couple minutes to talk about them. Man, Daniel Jones, I sincerely apologize for writing you off. Man, I mean, well, let's hold off on the Jones talk and let's talk about everything else. Defense played great. Jonathan Taylor has played great, looking like old Jonathan Taylor. Love to see it. Getting Michael Pittman the football. We're getting Josh Downs the football. We're spreading the love around on this offense. And Daniel Jones, let's talk about old Danny Dimes, has played phenomenal in this offense. And you get him, I just think New York Giants are cursed. They must be. You get Daniel Jones out of, New York and you give him this Indianapolis team. They're playing great. It's been amazing to watch. I'm loving to see this resurrection for Daniel Jones. And I've compared him to Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield obviously gets drafted to Cleveland, gets shipped off by Cleveland to Carolina to be the starter / backup, gets cut by Carolina, goes to LA, has that terrific game on Thursday Night Football, so he gets the shot down in Tampa Bay, and it's just like, all right, we'll put you in a quarterback battle with Kyle Trask. All of a sudden, Baker wins that battle, and he takes off with it, and we see what Baker Mayfield's doing with the Buccaneers now. Daniel Jones gets drafted by the Giants, makes that one magical playoff run with the Giants. Baker also made that one magical playoff run with the Browns. Gets shipped out of New York from the Giants just because obviously not playing good. Gets put onto a Colts team where it's just like, all right, we'll put you in a quarterback battle with Anthony Richardson. He wins the quarterback battle over him. It's just like, all right, we'll see. Whatever happens, happens. We're not expecting a whole lot. They're 3-0. If Daniel Jones continues this for the rest of the season, he's going to get a Baker deal. He's going to be the starter for this team for the rest of the season. The Colts can win the AFC South. Did you just hear what I just said? The Colts can win the AFC South. They are 3-0. Jacksonville hasn't looked particularly amazing like we've discussed before. They've had some scrappy wins and battles, but Houston's 0-3. And then, gosh, who am I forgetting in that division? Sweet Moses. Colts, Texans, Jags. Gosh, Titans. Titans 0-3. They're not going to do nothing this year. Let's go Colts. Come on. Go make a run. I would love to see a Colts playoff run this year. I think it's great to see Daniel Jones playing the way that he is. He's obviously looking a whole lot more positive. I was watching the Monday Night Football Peyton and Eli broadcast, and he was on there. He's looking so much happier. I love to see it. I love where this Colts team is at, and that's why they're a top 10 team right now, but a whole lot of football left, so we'll see if they can continue playing up to standards. Number 9, the Los Angeles Rams. They should have beaten Philly on Sunday. I'm sorry, but they should have beaten Philly. They easily should have won that game. In fact, they should have blown them out. There were so many drives that they should have ended in touchdowns instead of field goals. And realistically, we'll take time to talk about the end of the game where they were going to kick the field goal to win the game, but it got blocked, returned for a touchdown by Jordan Davis. So I was watching YouTuber MMG, which if you're under the age of about 18, you probably shouldn't watch him. But he's a kicker. He played kicker in high school, and he was talking about how, and it just clicked for me because I'm not a specialist when it comes to special teams and kicking. I don't know how to kick a football, but he was discussing, and it made so much sense. When you're going to take a field goal kick, for it not to be blocked, you want to get that ball on an upwards trajectory. That's where we want to shoot the football. His kick, the Rams kicker, was like a line drive. You do those on like a 60-plus yarder, 50-plus yarder, long kicks where you need more power than you do height. For the Rams, it was only like a mid 40-yard field goal, and he tried to get power on it instead of height. So in that case, if you go back and look at it, the Eagles were in no position where they could have blocked that field goal if it was kicked properly. But instead, it's kicked more on a line drive. Jordan Davis is able to get his hand up there and block it and tip it and take it back for a touchdown. So the Rams, they should have won that game if we, were kicking the ball right. I don't know if that's a holder problem or a kicker problem. I don't know. But obviously, Philly, they were able to make a great comeback. Rams, they've played, decent football up to this point. Got a great win in week 2. Got a scrappy win against the Texans in week 1. And now obviously dropping this game to the Eagles in week 3. I think they'll be fine, but we'll see what they're able to do for the rest of the season. But number 8, this is where I had the Commanders. Got a great bounce spot win against the Raiders this past week. I loved what I saw from Mariota. Jane Daniels was obviously out this past week with a sprained knee that he suffered in week 2 against the Packers. As of right now, he's been limited in practice. Recording this on a Wednesday. In fact, it is September 24th. We play the Falcons on Sunday. We'll see what he's able to do. I am fully comfortable if he is not able to go, if he's not 100%, we can start Mariota. Marcus Mariota in this offense is very similar to an offense that he ran when he was at Oregon and won the Heisman Trophy. He plays great in this offense. The 3 games that we've seen from him, he's played absolutely fantastic. So if Jaden Daniels is not able to go by the time that Sunday rolls around, I am fully comfortable with rolling with Mariota for Sunday against the Falcons. But time will tell. I do think that ultimately Jane Daniels will probably play. We'll see about Terry McLaurin, who's questionable going into this week. But the Commanders have had 2 great wins against the Giants and Raiders. Obviously, I know not particularly great teams that they've beaten. We need a solid win. And I think that, we got a shot at getting a good solid win against an Atlanta team that seems to be struggling right now. Seemingly how they played against Carolina. So we'll see. We're at Atlanta. So we'll see for the Commanders coming up this weekend. But the Green Bay Packers, 2-1, obviously suffering that just sad loss to Cleveland. They should have blown Cleveland out, but Cleveland came in there, they put their foot down, and they stopped this Packers run that we've seemingly they've been going on. They play the Cowboys this week on Sunday Night Football. I think this is going to be their chance to get a good get back win. I think that this team's fine. I don't think that we should be worried too much about the Packers. Up to this point. So I think they're going to be okay, but obviously do not want to take that loss to Cleveland in week 3. But it's early. I think we'll be okay. If I'm a Packers fan, that's at least what I'm thinking right now. So they'll be fine. But I think it's still a great football team, and they're probably going to get a good victory this Sunday. Number 6, this is where I had the Ravens. The Ravens are 1-2. Wow. All of a sudden, we're talking about the Ravens having a losing record. Should we panic? No. This Ravens team's still really, really good. The 2 losses that they have been to Detroit and Buffalo, 2 great football teams, and they've battled in those games. I just think the defense needs to play better in those big games, Offense is great, but Derrick Henry, we got to stop fumbling the football. Lamar has looked absolutely fantastic. Hopkins has looked great. Flowers has looked great. The offenses have looked good for Baltimore. Defense just needs to play better in these big game situations against these better teams, and they'll be putting up more wins. But until then, I have them right outside the top five. But my top five, we're starting off at number five. This is where I had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're 3-0, have looked great in all three of their wins. Baker Mayfield is an MVP candidate right now. I don't care what you say. He is, in fact, an MVP candidate. Absolutely fantastic. Mike Evans is going to be out for a couple weeks, for a few weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, I think it was, with a hamstring injury. Bucky Irvin's been playing good football. The defense has been playing great. Scrappy wins all 3 games, but hey, they're playing great football, and I love the future of this team for the Buccaneers. And I really love what they're doing down there in Tampa. Number 4, let's talk about the Chargers. The Chargers are number 4 right now. Obviously, thoughts and prayers go with Najee Harris, who just tore his Achilles. That's rough for him. I think he's only on a 1-year deal with them. But hey, Omarion Hampton now gets a chance to shine. He had a great game filling in. Chargers, and Jim Harbaugh loves to run the football. But Justin Herbert has looked great passing-wise. He's another MVP candidate right now. This Chargers team is looking great. Right now, it's their division to lose. All 3 other teams are struggling right now. And the Chargers, if you haven't noticed, they played the Broncos week 3, the Raiders week 2, and the Chiefs week 1. Won all 3 of those games. That's 3 division wins right there. So at the least, they're going to finish 3-3 division-wise, and that's going to matter a lot when it comes down to who wins this division. So good for the Chargers. I love where they're at. Let's see if they can keep it on with the way that they're playing. But they're not in the top 3. We're going to start with the top 3 with the Detroit Lions, who I have at number 3. A great win against Baltimore this past weekend and blew out Chicago in week 2. After week 1, we were kind of like, all right, where's this, Lions team at with the way that they got spanked against Green Bay? But they shut up all the critics right away and really have been playing like the old Detroit Lions that we've known for the last few years that have been the powerhouse of the NFC, seeming like. I think, again, I said after that week 1, I think that they'll be just fine once they, really lock it in and do what matters most, as in playing the 2 running back game and getting the ball to Amon-Ra and Jameson Williams. So they've done that. Goff looks better. The defense looks great. This team is a powerhouse still in the NFC. You're obviously feeling pretty good if you're a Lions fan for now that you've seen the way that they played. Obviously, probably a little bit scared after week 1, but hey, now we're on week 4 and we look great. So let's continue to ride this momentum. The number 2 team I have is the Buffalo Bills. The number 2 and number 1 have stayed the same up to this point, but Buffalo is 3-0. Got a good win against Miami this past week on Thursday Night Football. Got a great win in week 1 against the Ravens in that classic game. And then week 2 got a great win over the Jets. Buffalo looks great. I'm anticipating them to add another weapon, and this team's just going to take off. I love the way that this team's playing. This is arguably the number 1 team in the AFC right now. Shot to do something special this year if they do all the right things and, not choke in the playoffs. But we'll see. Right now, I still have a number 2, but they aren't number 1. Number 1, if you guessed it, is the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think this Philly team is as good as past Philly teams. They're still the best team in the NFL because they figured out what they were doing wrong this past week at halftime. All of a sudden, hey, I know a good idea. Let's let Jalen Hurts throw the football to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith instead of running it 24/7 in the game because, teams will ultimately figure that out. And sure enough, whenever we unleash the passing game a little bit more and throw the ball to A.J. Brown more, hey, wow, it works wonders. And we're able to come back and win a football game against a really, really good Rams team. If that's what they continue to do for the rest of the year and they actually stick to playing the way that they did the second half against the Rams, this team's going to be just fine. And they're going to, be looking to make another deep run and another run for the Super Bowl this year. And I hate to say it, but it seems like they figured it out. And obviously, that's what they needed to do. They needed to unleash the passing game more, because not only does it make Hurts better, not only does it make AJ Brown better, not only does it make Devontae Smith better, but it makes Saquon Barkley better, because teams are not just looking at him because they are running the ball so much. That Saquon's able to shock some people more and do what we saw Saquon do last year, and the rest of this Philly offense do what they did last year. Now, if they're going to play the second half of that game, but that's it for the 31 through 1 rankings. That took a little bit. I apologize for that. I tried to speed run it as much as I could. I'll just go ahead and say, I don't think we're going to be able, and actually screw that. We're going to go off my script a little bit, and we're going to talk a little bit of baseball, switch it up a little bit. End up probably cutting out, looking forward to week 4. We'll go over week 4 primetime games, as I don't think they are as strong this week as they have been in past weeks. So that's fine. But we'll talk about the primetime games next week. But right now we're going to talk a little bit about baseball. So, I would give a playoff prediction, but not all seeds have been locked in, and teams not all spots have been clinched in the playoffs yet. So we'll go over who's clinched and who still has left to clinch. So we'll start with the NL for baseball. The Brewers have clinched, the Phillies have clinched, and the Dodgers have clinched, as well as the Cubs and the Padres. So there's still one spot left. Phillies and Brewers have locked up the Central and the East, and then the Dodgers are in a fight right now with San Diego for the West. Now, for that one last playoff spot, the 3 teams that are pretty much battling it out right now are the Mets, D-backs, and Reds. I was able to catch the end of that Mets and Cubs game last night, and the Mets were able to pull that off. That was a very impressive win for the Mets. They were trailing 6-1 at one point, came all the way back, won 9-7. Francisco Alvarez hit a 2-run bomb. I believe it was in the top of the 8th, maybe? Yeah. Something like that. Yes, top of the 8th, to put the Mets on top 9-7. So good win by the Mets. I ultimately do think it's going to go to them when it's all said and done. They have a 1-game lead right now. They're 81-76, and the D-backs and the Reds are both 80-77. So if I was to predict it right now, I do think it'll be the Mets that get that last wild card spot. But who knows? We've seen wackier things happen. But good for the D-backs, who traded both Josh Naylor and Eugenio Suarez to Seattle. They also traded Merrill Kelly to the Rangers, and look at them all of a sudden looking to make a wild card run. Obviously not expecting them to do anything, but good for them in that aspect to make it to where they are right now. As for the AL, we've got the Blue Jays, Mariners, and Guardians. No division in the AL has been won yet, by the way. It has been locked up yet. But as for wild cards, there's only been one team that's in a wild card spot right now to clinch, and that was the Yankees. They clinched last night. But there's 2 left, and that would be the current wild card 2 and 3s right now. Red Sox got the 2 spot, and the Tigers have the 3, and then the Astros are right out of it. Leave it to the Astros to be sneaky. They'll probably find a way to sneak into the playoffs. I'm not even going to lie. So the big talking point right now is that the Yankees could easily take over the top spot. They are 1 game back from the Blue Jays for that division lead. The Mariners I think are going to pretty much take that division. The Astros have won 84 ball games. They're still in the division run, but I do think the Mariners are going to take that. And then the Guardians and the Tigers are both in a run for that division spot. The Tigers have won 85 games. The Guardians have won 86, I believe. They just beat the Tigers yesterday to take over the division spot. The Tigers, this was a team that was running away with the division, a couple months ago. And now all of a sudden they've fallen off a bunch. And Cleveland, sure enough, has come back and taken that right back from them and taken that spot in the division. I hope, as a baseball fan, that the Tigers do take it. And I hope both teams make it. I hope Cleveland and Detroit are able to make the playoffs. Whoever wins the division and, who gets that wild card spot, I hope that we're able to see both of them. I hope Boston's able to make it. I think that they will make it. Good for them for hanging around as long as they did. I think that Devers trade was probably the best thing to happen to them during the season. that could be a hot take of its own. But yeah, that's good for them for getting that drama out of there, and they have played great so far, and they're looking to make a good run in this playoffs. But that's where we're at. Next week, next Thursday, we'll make a full prediction video. Sadly, the playoffs would have already started by then. They start, I believe it's next Tuesday, September 30th is when the wild card starts. Us drops next week. We'll make a video making playoff predictions for uh baseball. I'm a big baseball fan. I know that we've talked mainly, we're starting to get to playoff baseball, so we can definitely talk about some baseball a lot. I'm a big baseball fan. I play baseball myself, so I would love to take some time to talk about some baseball and some playoffs, as I think it's going to be a really exciting postseason. But we'll talk more baseball and we'll get a full prediction for who I think is going to win the whole thing on next week's podcast. We're going to end this thing off with the hot takes that I got. So I'll start off with the two that I pulled from Instagram, and then I'll give my own take. So my buddy Esteban from school, this was his hot take. He said that Bryce Young has a breakout season and the Panthers make the playoffs. So this kind of goes back to what we were discussing whenever we were talking our 32-1, whenever I was talking about the Panthers. Bryce Young playing great football all of a sudden, and they were able to do what they did against Atlanta this past week. Hey, if Bryce Young plays like he did the end of last season, like he did this past week, yeah, the Panthers will probably have a good shot at maybe winning that division. I think it just all depends on what Tampa Bay does. Tampa Bay is that team to beat right now, and they are playing great football. And I mean, I ultimately don't think it's in the cards. I think they could end up having a 9-8 type season, and maybe just miss out on the playoffs. I don't really know if playoffs are in the future for Carolina, but man, if they do make it by some chance, and even if they won the division, that will be a great story for Carolina. I think if we're kind of going to do the buy or sell, if I like the hot take or I don't. I'm probably going to sell this hot take for right now just because, it's one good week against the Atlanta team that's struggling all of a sudden on offense. And I just need to see more Carolina Panthers football in this where they're playing this good type of football. But I hope that they can keep it up. But I just don't think that they're going to be able to catch Tampa Bay for the division. And then TJ from my Nats group chat that I have on my personal account. Um, Nationals fan, baseball wise, that not looking great for us. But he dropped a football one. Chiefs don't make the Super Bowl in the next 5 years. Man, um, I mean, it ain't looking good right now for them. That's for sure. They are not playing good football right now, but I just can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. Sure, I'll give you this season, maybe next season, but I just think that they're gonna. I mean, there's just no way. It's Patrick Mahomes. I'm not trying to sound like Chris Collinsworth right now, but I mean, I just think that Chiefs team's going to get some better talent eventually. I think we're going to see Travis Kelce step away from this team and probably retire here shortly, but I wouldn't say that they're just not going to make it in the next 5 years. Surely they will. So, sell it just because the Chiefs always seem to be a great team and everything, and I just think that them not making one in the next 5 years is kind of absurd. I think that they're always going to just hang around in the playoffs and kind of be like a pesky Patriots type or Astros, if you want to give a baseball example. They're going to be that kind of team that just hangs around and makes playoff runs, even when you think that they're just not as good. But I'd love to get a different AFC team every 5 years. I love seeing different teams in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl. But I just think it's kind of crazy right now just to count them out, just because they haven't played good the last couple weeks. I mean, we've seen this before, and they've had stretches where they haven't played good and still made the Super Bowl. So I'm just going to sell that. But I would like it. I'd like to see it. I can't lie. Now my hot take that we're gonna end the video on. So this has to do with the Chiefs, and there's a particular player that we've all kind of been thinking that's going to get traded at some point, and I do think that's going to be this year. And I think that the Chiefs are going to make a move. I've been saying repeatedly that they need to go get another weapon. And I think that they will. And I think they're going to go get a familiar face. And my hot take is that the Chiefs are going to trade for Tyreek Hill. They're going to bring him back from Miami. Miami is falling apart. This relationship with Miami and Tyreek Hill has seemingly like it's looking like it's breaking. That Tyreek Hill wants out of there. He's looking very frustrated. I think that they bring him back home to Kansas City. I truly do think that he obviously, I mean, he's going to play well in that offense. He loves Patty as his quarterback, and Mahomes would love to have him right about now. So I truly do think that if I was to make a bold prediction and I think that I think that this has a really legitimate shot of coming true. I say the Chiefs go trade back for Tyreek Hill in order to help this offense and try to make a run again this year at Lambeau. But that's my hot take. Let me know what you think. If you want to be part of another hot takes in the future, please go follow the Instagram, the Preston Kelly Show on Instagram. Go follow the TikTok where you can go get other updates and see clips from the show and everything. I'll also let you know on there whenever we are doing hot takes and stuff. But if you do want to be part of the hot takes, make sure you go follow the Instagram. Look out for the stories. They will be in a little question pop-up box that you get on the stories where you can drop your hot take and you have a pretty darn good chance of being on the podcast. But a little bit of a longer episode today. So let me know what you think from the full 32. If wherever your team's at, let me know if you agree, disagree, what you think in that aspect. If you have a baseball hot take or something regarding these playoff teams, let me know. Look forward to seeing a big baseball video as for the postseason next week when it comes out, when we drop that podcast episode. I'll be recording it on next Wednesday, Lord willing. And please, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, turn on the bell so that way you never miss a podcast episode. I really love talking about sports, particularly baseball and football, and I hope that you enjoy listening. And I would love to get more interactive with the people that watch the show. So please leave a comment, subscribe, and help support the channel a lot. It does mean a lot. But that's it from me in this episode. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, a great rest of your week, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys next week on the next episode.